Hey guys. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Get on in here. Welcome to another session. Title Experts University, where we learn more to earn more. I'm so happy to see you guys. I'm actually live from Orlando. I'm up visiting our Orlando office location, finalizing some logistics. You know what we do. We cornering the market. But I'm excited to have this conversation with all of you today. If you guys follow me on social, you probably saw that I posted that foreclosure filings are up for the first time in a couple years, right? You know that there was legislation that pretty much imposed a moratorium on foreclosure filings for a very long time during the pandemic. That moratorium has been lifted. And so now there are foreclosure filings that are being filed, and those that were on hold are proceeding. And so, while conversation about there not being resale inventory, this is an opportunity for you all to gather some inventory, for you to guys get your hands on some sales inventory. And so I wanted to have this conversation. Obviously, there's not a slew of foreclosures being filed right now. There's not a slew of short sales, but it's always good to have the information in advance, right? So that you are first in line for the opportunity. I will tell you that we are still closing short sales, believe it or not. We are still closing short sale transactions. So, with that being said, there's clearly a need for you for this service and for you to have this foundational knowledge about the short sale process so that you can service clients. Now, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and just jump right in to our discussion for the day, right? And that is short sale transaction basics. Short sale transaction basics. For those who I have not had an opportunity to meet before, my name is Racole Jackson. I am the founder of Title Experts University, as well as Title Experts, the full service title insurance and settlement firm that services all of Florida. A bit about my background: I am originally from Florida. Got my undergraduate degree from University of Florida. Go Gators! Got my undergraduate degree from Santa Clara University in California, and I have an LLM in real property development from the University of Miami School of Law. I am proud to be a licensed real estate sales professional in Florida. So if I have not had an opportunity to meet you before, uh, welcome to class. All right. So today's objective, again, I would be very happy if everyone walked away today with a understanding of the short sale transaction basics, so that you can identify and service potential short sale clients. I am not expecting you to be an expert today. I mean, honestly, there's not much to the short sale transaction outside of um, really what we're going to discuss today. I mean, there's a couple additional pieces, but you're still managing the transaction similarly as you would. But this is an opportunity, this discussion today, for you to identify how to get in front of opportunities, how to discuss those opportunities, and how to prepare for those opportunities. So, what is a short sale? A short sale is when a lender accepts a loan payoff amount that is short of the full amount owed on the loan, right? So that's where we get the term short sale from. This amount that they're accepting as full satisfaction of the debt is short of what the seller/homeowner actually owes to the lender. Now, one of the first fundamentals is to understand that lender short sale approval is required. So a homeowner can't just say, "Oh, I owe $500,000 on my home. It's only worth 300. I'm just going to sell it for 300." No, the lender has to agree to accept 300,000, or the seller is still responsible for the $200,000 balance, right? And so that's a fundamental that you should understand, and that you should be able to explain to your clients when they're contemplating a short sale, that they cannot just unilaterally decide that they're going to sell their property for less than they owe the lender, and that's just going to resolve their debt. No, there's still going to be a balance due unless the lender approves uh, acceptance of that short sale amount. Now, short sale opportunities, like I mentioned when we first got started, they are most readily identified via foreclosure filings. If a property has a foreclosure action filed against it, that means what? Someone hasn't paid their mortgage. And so we're finding out, are the sellers not paying because they believe that the property's not worth what they owe, and so they feel like they're throwing good money after bad? Is that why they haven't paid? Possibly. But in this market, as we know, this is a different market. Properties have a pretty healthy value. And so that's a different conversation, guys, about getting ahead of these people who have foreclosures filed against them to say, hey, you don't have to go down this road. You actually might be entitled to monies after the sale of this property. And believe it or not, guys, I've had files, I've represented parties that unfortunately they retained the firm a little too late. They literally had equity in the property and they could have sold the property, avoided foreclosure, and gotten a little bit of cash back in their pockets. So, whereas we're having this conversation about short sales, if someone has a foreclosure action filed against them, then you need to get ahead of that and say, hey, I can help you. And most times, guys, you absolutely can. If it's not a short sale, then again, in this market, it's likely an opportunity that they can sell and avoid the foreclosure action. So, that's a 2-for-1. Let's get ahead of those foreclosures that are being filed. Now, short sale opportunities can also be identified by marketing. By marketing. So, this Inman article came into my email about a week ago, along with some others that I've seen, that foreclosure filings are up. And we in Florida are one of the states where foreclosure filings are up. And so, how do you market your services for that? Social media, right? So, you can share that article and say, are you able to craft a message that says that you can help? You craft a message saying, oh my God, foreclosure filings are up for the first time in 3 years. My office is prepared to service clients that may be facing this situation. Or short sale may be an opportunity to avoid this situation for homeowners. If you or someone you know needs assistance with a foreclosure action or a potential foreclosure action, reach out to me. Right? This is not this is the other side of the market, guys. Right? This is one where people will literally, again, like I mentioned, the client that I had earlier, they will stick their head in the sand and they won't say that they're in trouble. They'll just quietly pack their things and go away. But if you craft a message that says foreclosure activity is up, there's a solution, I can help, you'll be surprised how many people raise their hands. And it may not be necessarily just for them, it may be for someone that they know. So let's start getting some verbiage together. Let's start getting some content together. Let's start getting a little bit of discussion together around this topic of foreclosure activity increasing, the opportunity for short sale, or the opportunity to sell the property for more than what the lender is actually owed. You'll be surprised who'll raise their hand and say, hey, um, how can I get on a call with you really quickly? Okay. So, how will the short sale be processed? The short sale process starts with the homeowner reaching out to the lender and advising that they're unable to make their mortgage payments. They're unable to make their mortgage payments. For whatever reason, I've lost my job. Guess what, guys? We're coming up on a recession. Allegedly, and that's what everyone's saying. And there being record layoffs, right? Of people who are they don't have jobs. And so if someone has, potentially refinanced their home or done any of these things where they've pulled out monies out of their home when there was increased values, they may be in a position now where they cannot make their payments. Or how about, you'll be surprised, some that took advantage of not making payments during the pandemic are now not able to catch up. That's more content. I've literally closed transactions where sellers had to sell simply because they just could not catch up, right? So once the seller or homeowner reaches out to the lender will require an application be submitted along with supporting documentation, right? That documentation usually includes a hardship letter. That's the letter from the homeowner saying, hey, listen, I can't make these payments because of these circumstances. I lost my job. I got sick. The home is not worth what is owed on it, right? I can't catch up, whatever the case may be. But they will require a hardship letter. They will require pay stubs. They will require bank statements, and they will require tax returns of the homeowner. Now, of you, they may require a CMA. One of the one of the biggest headaches, I'll let you know right now, and you want to make sure you advise your clients at the outset. One of the biggest headaches with short sale review and the negotiation process is that the seller slash homeowner may need to submit the financial information numerous times, meaning they reach out to the lender today, July 21st, with their bank statement, with their 2 months bank statements, their 2 months recent pay stubs, their tax returns, etc. And then the lender doesn't get to their file until next month. Guess what? The lender is going to ask for another 2 months bank statements, another 2 months of pay stubs, etc. Because they must always have updated financial information. And whatever else they may ask for, be sure to advise the client that they need to get it in right away. Right away, because if your file gets pushed to the side, it's going behind hundreds and hundreds of other files that are being reviewed by the lender. Now, with that being said, I would suggest considering hiring a short sale negotiator. There are still short sale negotiators that are working right now. Again, because there may not be as many short sales in the market right now as there was back at the last housing crisis. There are still being short sales negotiated. Short sales are still being negotiated. And similar to your contract to close process, where there's a lot of documentation and send this back, literally sign here, initial here, date this, undate this. There's a lot of tedious information back and forth that you probably don't want to be involved in. Again, you don't even want to do that on in other transactions. So certainly in a short sale, I do not suggest that you attempt to negotiate that process. Make that a cost of the client. They're not that much. They are more than a transaction coordinator, but they're not thousands of dollars. Have them retain a short sale negotiator, and that will make your life easier in facilitating that short sale. Now, the next fundamental is, once you go under contract for the short sale transaction, you want to be sure to include rider G. I've like I said, I've closed short sale transactions that did not include this rider. This is a rider that is available in your document templates, your rider package, specifically for short sale transactions. And it lays out a number of terms that are specific to a short sale, including what we spoke about earlier, letting the buyer know that this transaction is contingent upon the lender approving the short sale. It tells the buyer that in the event that a foreclosure has also been filed simultaneous with us negotiating the short sale, in the event the lender makes it to foreclosure first, this short sale transaction is canceled, you get your deposit back. So there's a number of disclosures in that document that you want to be sure that you attach to the purchase and sale contract. Additionally, you want to make sure that your MLS listing indicates that this is a short sale, whether it is approved or not. Also, that all terms of the transaction, including realtor compensation, i.e. commission, is subject to the short sale lender's approval. Everything is subject to the short sale lender's approval. So you're going to go in, accept in that short sale approval. So you want to make sure that you have that information in your MLS listing. Now, this is a screenshot of the top portion of Rider G, the short sale approval contingency rider. And as I indicated, it has a number of disclosures. What you see here is the first disclosure where it says uh, the lender must approve the short sale, right? This is a 2-page document. You can go and find it in your rider template bank to get yourself associated with it. Now, in addition to the other terms that are included in the rider is point 5, paragraph 5. A key point in that rider is that the escrow deposit, should you go under contract for a short sale transaction, the escrow deposit is due on the date indicated in the purchase contract. So if the purchase contract says that a $5,000 escrow deposit will be made within 3 days of the effective date of the contract, then your escrow deposit is due within 3 days of the effective date of the contract. However, every other deadline, including your inspection period, loan approval, loan application, closing date, etc., all of that is contingent upon the short sale approval date. All right. So if we go into contract today, it says that we have 3 days to make the escrow deposit. Then that escrow deposit is going to be due on Monday. Let me go ahead and put that out there. We talked about that in some prior sessions. It's going to be due on Monday, right? Because 3 days from today, 22nd, 23rd, 24th is a Sunday. We know that the escrow deposit due date, if it falls on a weekend or holiday, rolls forward to the next calendar day. So it's going to be due on Monday, right? But our inspection period is going to be calculated from our loan approval date. So if our loan approval of our inspection period is 7 days from effective date, and our loan approval, our short sale approval comes in on, let's say, August 21st, then the inspection period deadline is going to be 7 days from August 21st. Loan approval is going to be X number of days from August 21st. And all of that is articulated in this rider. Guys, if you don't attach this rider, now your buyer is responsible for having a loan approval X number of days from the effective date of this contract. Their inspection period is going to expire early, right? They will have completed their inspection period early into the agreement, but they don't even have a loan approval yet, a short sale approval yet. So that's why this rider is important, right? So that's a fundamental. The next fundamental is that you should know that the closing agent is going to be involved in this process pretty early on, because as part of the short sale approval review, the closing agent will need to provide a draft ALTA that reflects the estimated amount that the lender will receive after closing costs. So bringing you guys behind the closing table, when you send a file in for closing, one of the first things we're going to have to do is prepare a draft settlement statement. That draft settlement statement is going to lay out all of the seller's closing costs, including commissions. We're going to put in the purchase price that the buyer and the seller have agreed to, and that amount at the bottom, so the net amount from the purchase price after deducting the seller's closing costs and commissions, is the amount that we're going to say, hey, lender, this is what they're proposing is going to be your payoff for this loan. I'm going to say that again. The draft settlement statement that you should receive from the closing agent when you send in a file for short sale will reflect the agreed upon purchase price, top line. Subsequent lines will be the closing costs, right? Based upon the contract. If the seller's responsible for title insurance, or they're responsible for the estoppel or lien search, etc., the commissions, all those amounts are going to be deducted from the purchase price. And the net amount is going to be added to the settlement statement as the payoff. And so that's going to say, hey, lender, this is what your payoff could be. And from there, the lender's going to come back and say, no, we need a little bit more. We need, if say, for example, your purchase price is $500,000, so $100,000 in closing costs. Again, being very dramatic here. The loan amount is 700,000, and so the lender is going to end up, after deducting 100,000 from a $500,000 purchase price, the lender is going to end up with a $400,000 payoff on a $700,000 loan. The lender say, "Hey, that is a little bit too much. We need a little bit more than that." And that could potentially be accomplished by the lender refusing to cover certain closing costs, right? Or it can be accomplished by the lender saying the seller needs to bring cash to closing. Okay. So a question here. It says, can the buyer still pick the title company, or does the bank choose the title company? That is a very, 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 very good question. The buyer can choose the title company. Unlike, for example, it can be the lender's requirement that they use a particular title company, but I have not seen yet a short sale where the lender has a particular title company that they require. You do sometimes see that in an REO situation, but that is a very, very, very good question. The buyer can select the title company, and it not be one that's selected by the bank. Very good question. All right. Carrying on with regards to the settlement statement, the proceeds to the seller on the settlement statement should be $0. The lender does not want to see any monies go to the seller. I mean, hey, they're already accepting less than what they're owed. They certainly do not want their sellers walking away from the closing table with any money. So that is another fundamental that you should keep an eye out for as your short sale transaction is closing, as you're seeing that draft settlement statement floating around. If you see 1 cent going to the seller, you need to tap the closing agent and say, "Hey, this is going to be a problem." The lender does not want any monies going to the seller, and that will be in the approval letter as well. Here's a sticky one, guys. Remember, I mentioned that the lender may oppose paying for an estoppel. They may oppose paying for a lien search. And at that point, the buyer needs to agree. They have to accept whether or not they're going to agree to cover that cost. Here's a sticky one. The lender is not required to abide by your commission agreement. So even if your seller said, "I will pay you, I'm willing to pay 7% commission, 4% to you, 3% to the buyer's agent," the lender can come back and say, "No, I'm not accepting that commission amount," because that reduces their net proceeds, right? Because generally the seller pays commission. And so if the seller has agreed to pay 7% in commission, that greatly reduces the lender's net proceeds. So the question is, even if the property sells for more than is owed, all right, so that goes back to our fundamental. If the property sells for more than is owed, then we don't have a short sale situation, right? The short sale situation is for when a property is sold and the lender accepts less or short than what they're owed on the loan. That's a good question for clarification. All right. Another fundamental that's important not to miss: time is of the essence. In that approval letter, the lender is going to indicate a date by which the transaction must close and they must receive their funds. Guys, you cannot blow this closing date. This is not as simple as, let's just sign the addendum to move the closing date. This could require this file going back to short sale review and approval, starting all over again. They cannot, nobody, no one, do not blow this deadline. Do not blow this deadline. Whatever date the lender provides for. Here's a pro tip. If the lender says that your closing date is July 21st, depending upon when you get that approval, schedule your closing for 7 days prior to that. Okay? Because you cannot blow that date. Foreclosure defense. You want to be sure, again, because it's a short sale situation, they may have the lender may the lender may file for foreclosure. You want to be able to provide to your clients a resource of real estate attorneys that can assist them if a foreclosure action has been filed against them. Similarly, do not provide tax advice. You also want to potentially have a list of tax professionals who can assist them, right? Because they may have questions about, well, what about the amount that the lender, what they call, wrote off? How is that going to be reflected at the end of the year for taxes? You don't try to answer that question. Again, either tell them to seek the counsel of their own tax preparer or send them a list of 3 tax preparers, with obviously with the disclaimer that here are just some names of people. Ultimately, you're responsible for hiring your own professional. All right, guys, you are ready for short sale opportunities. These are fundamental. See, it's not too difficult. Time is of the essence. You're going to need to utilize a short sale negotiator. I would suggest don't try and handle the whole back and forth with documentation. And outside of that, you should definitely, you now have the ability to answer questions about the process of a short sale. You have the ability to advise your clients on what the lender is going to require. And then you also have the ability to craft messaging for marketing on how to raise your hand and say, hey, if you have questions about this, if you or someone you know has questions about short sale transactions, reach out to me. Right now, we're in a climate where we are building inventory. We want inventory however we can get it, right? So next week we're going to be talking about wholesaling, and then we need to have a conversation about probate transactions because those are transactions that we're closing as well. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? You all best ask great questions. Do I have a list of short sale negotiators? I can create one. I have 2 off the top of my head that I can send to you. So I will put that together and I'll put those contacts in the Facebook group. I'll drop those in the community. All right. Hey, glad to see you guys. So in closing, I just wanted to share a thought as I'm here in Orlando at our Central Florida location. And while the market is saying, oh, everything's slowing down, transactions are slowing and chicken little, chicken little, I want to encourage you all to uh, take the time to daily address your mindset. And so, in closing, I want to say you are only as successful as your mindset. Think bigger. Think bigger than the circumstances. Think bigger than you think you can accomplish. Think bigger than the last thought that you had. You are only successful as your mindset. Expand your exposure. Expand your education. Expand your experience. We know that we learn more to earn more, right? Again, you are only as successful as your mindset. Think bigger. Think bigger. All right. All right, guys. So, yes, it will be recorded and it will be in our Facebook group. Feel free to shoot us a message in the group if you have any questions. All right. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Bye.